John T. Biggers was born in 1924 in a house on Davidson Street in the Highland community. His parents were Paul and Cora Biggers, and he was the youngest of 7 children. So his earliest artistic memories actually come from his childhood in Gastonia, growing up in the house that is still standing and later became the studio for his nephew, James Biggers. It's a monumental acquisition for the Gaston County Museum of Art and History. This collection is about 200 pieces or more of drawings, sketches, mural preparations. There are so many drawings that we recognize in his murals later that appear in this gift.
This gift is a phenomenal gift, and it came into the museum in about 2 very large portfolios similar to this, and then a few other unframed paintings and framed sketches and drawings. And so the first step is really unpacking those portfolios and really understanding what is part of the gift.
One of the most interesting parts of this gift is that it is a wonderful view into the creative process of the artist. So many times, artists, they don't save that part of their work. That's not the finished product. But for us, as museum professionals, in capturing the artistic process is one of the most important ways to show an artist's life and an artist's work. So many of the drawings that we have acquired, of course, need conservation work. They're not things that would have been pristine and shown in an exhibit. They're things that would have been cast aside in an artist's studio. So there will be conservation that will need to be done, and that will take some time. But our plan is to display his work in our permanent exhibit so that people from Gaston County and visitors to Gaston County can see this important gift in perpetuity.
I've been unpacking them piece by piece and then rehousing them in archival materials and acid-free portfolios. I make notes on the condition. This piece is in pretty good shape, but some of the other pieces will likely need a lot of conservation treatment. So I make notes of all of that. Once everything's properly cataloged and numbered, and then we have a full count of what we have, they will be stored in map cases like this.
So it was a long process for John T. Biggers. So his earliest memories and some of his fondest memories were of sitting around the fire after the children's chores were finished for the day, and his father would read them stories, or stories would be told by other members of their community, and there would be women behind them quilting the entire time. So he described this memory of the warmth of the fire and the colors and the warmth of the cotton and the wool being created behind him. So some of those earliest and most foundational experiences of family and community and art were all really tied together from the very beginning. So when his father passed away, his mother enrolled him and his brother in Lincoln Academy, which was located in Kings Mountain. It was really a prestigious school for African American students. And there he had a lot of time on his own. He worked and slept in the boiler room. He set fires for all of the classrooms and things like that. So he had a lot of time for contemplation, and it was there that we see him really begin his sketching, which later continued to grow. John, after Lincoln Academy, he enrolled in Hampton Institute, which is now Hampton University. Hampton University has the oldest collection of African American art in our country. And he went there actually and was intending to be a plumber. And when he enrolled, he had actually submitted some of his drawings along with his application. And they were reviewed by Victor Lowenfield, who was a professor of his who really inspired him during his time at Hampton. Victor Lowenfield had emigrated to the US in 1939, having escaped Nazi persecution. So he had this deep understanding of the violence and turmoil that was affecting segregated culture in America. And he really identified with his Black students at Hampton University and encouraged them to express some of those deepest feelings in their work. And at that point, John Bigger's work really took off. Victor Lowenfield became a mentor for him. And those years were a really dark period for John T. Bigger's work. He felt this strong sense of community that he had growing up in Gastonia, in an African-American community where family was so important. And he had that freedom at Hampton University. And during the war, soldiers were stationed at Hampton University, and it became a segregated environment again.
The subject matter of this, and the title says Carrying His Own Burden, John Bigger's 1950. This is probably during a period of time where he was dealing with Great Depression. This is really a window into his own mind, and this is him on a very personal level. And again, I think it must have been something that just, hit him. He grabbed whatever paper he had at hand. It's clearly an incomplete sketch because here's the shadow of the drawing that he's making here. But it's also, he's trying to get the utensil that he had at hand, all of these pencil marks, trying to get the pen to work, that kind of thing, and then do the shading that he wants. You can see that here, that he's, scribbling, trying to get this pen and the ink to do what he wants to do, to execute what was in his mind at that moment in time.
Later, as he went to Texas Southern University, what became Texas Southern University, he had the opportunity to travel to Africa. And in 1957, he was awarded a UNESCO fellowship and traveled to West Africa, to Ghana, with his wife, Hazel Biggers. And it was at that point that his world and his artistic experience, as we see it and know it today, really opened up. In Africa, he continued to sketch and to learn about these figures that we see repeated in his work throughout time. So this intensely spiritual maternal figure that we see, the family united, and this ascension. Oftentimes you see a child with his hands outstretched, embracing his family, or different figures ascending into heaven. And it really was an opportunity for him to find his place as a Black American in coming back to America. And that was not actually a connection that many Black Americans were making. Africa was not something or a place where they wanted to go back to. So this was really revolutionary for John T. Biggers at that time. So in returning, he brought a lot of that imagery with him. So the iconography that we see in his work, whether it is in the comb, a hair comb, or a crocodile, or turtles, all of those images represent something. This family connection, this community connection was very strong, and it continued to inspire his work from that point forward. We accepted the gift on September 18th, so it is very new. And given the fact that it has over 200 pieces, we are still discovering what's entailed. We have seen evidence of murals that we know exist in North Carolina and in the country, but there's so much to discover still. So it will take our team some time and having conversations with the family and other artists who knew John T. Biggers to really discover what it is that we have. Maya Angelou requested that her favorite artist, John T. Biggers, illustrate her book of poems, Our Grandmothers. And she mentions him in a quote that I'd like to share with you. "The matter of art is inevitably the matter of life. That is to say, art reflects life, influences and creates life. No soul lives long or fully without art. No life knows its precious worth without art. John Biggers, one of America's most important artists, leads us through his expressions into the discovery of ourselves at our most intimate level. Biggers' art functions as delight and discovery. Viewers of Biggers' monumental work are made to celebrate the circumstance of life, individual and particular, and to cherish life as wonderfully homogeneous. Bigger sees our differences and celebrates them. And in doing so, he allows the clans of the world to come together with deliberate respect and respectful appreciation. So to me, that says so much about not only the importance of art, but the importance of John T. Bigger's work and what we do as museums to really unite our visitors to this shared human experience that John T. Biggers really captures in his artwork.